Figurative language. Figurative language is the literary element to help enhance conversation. An example of this is simile. A simile is a comparison of two unlike things using like or as. An example of this is the weather is cooking like a barbecue. An example of figurative language is a metaphor, and that is a comparison of two unlike things without using the words like or as. An example of this is little snowflake daggers poked my skin. Another example of figurative language is an idiom, and that is a word or phrase that does not literally mean what it says. It has some other meaning to it. And an example of that is it's raining cats and dogs, because it's not actually raining cats and dogs. Hyperbole is also a figurative language, and that is a complete exaggeration to make a point, often used to create humorous or mean effect. An example is the hill was covered with a billion flowers. And another one of figurative language is onomatopoeia, and that is the act of spelling out the way a word sounds. An example of that is the steam whooshed through the manhole. Another example is personification, that is giving human-like qualities to a non-human-like thing. And an example of that is the flower stood tall amid the clovers. Another example is allusion, and that is making a reference to a part of another work or literary or a historical story. And that example of that is it felt like we were living in a Harper Lee novel. Another example is a symbol, and that is an item or thing that represents some larger idea of significance. An example of that is it is a sin to kill a mockingbird. Analogy, and that is two unlike things being compared to, or two unlike being. Alright, so that is two unlike things being compared to two other unlike things. An example of that is tires carved lines in the snow on the road like sprinters stay their lanes in a race. Alliteration, and that is using the same consistent sound to start two or more words in a sentence. And example of that is the friendly fog flirted with the water on the lake, because all those three of the words started with the letter F. Another one is assonance, and that one is using the same vowel sound in two or more nearby words in a sentence. And an example of that is hope is a pole with holes besides. And the next one is oxymoron, and that one is when apparently contradictory words appear next to each other. An example of that, he came home and the barbed wire was found missing. The next one is a pun, and that one is a word or phrase that usually has a comical meaning, so like something funny. An example of that is I'm reading a book about anti-gravity and it is hard to put down. The next one is irony, and that one is a contrast between what is expected and what actually happens. An example of that is a fireman who was afraid of fire. The last word is synecdoche, and that one is a rare figurative language. It's not commonly used, and it uses one detail of a person or thing to represent the entire person or vice versa. An example is, please lend me a helping hand. She was the breadwinner in the family.
Write it down and hold it up so he can read it.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Oh my God, that's Johnny!
And it exists. Come on.
I looked up Scoutman.